Hey everyone, welcome to part two of our Revolutionary Writers Week and week one of the Romantic period. This time, you guys are going to be looking at some political cartoons that deal with the French Revolution, and that's definitely something we want to keep thinking about, especially because as early in the week we saw, this was a time where, the printing press was allowing for a lot of new things to happen. So the political cartoons are not something just to skip over, but today I really want to talk to you about Wollstonecraft and Barbald, especially because we have the French Revolution going on, and we're talking about the rights of mankind and everyone needs to have their rights, and the idea that all men are created with certain liberties like happiness, wealth, freedom, all those things, right? But let's not forget that while these are great ideals and it definitely progressed society forward, it wasn't really for everybody. We know that, minorities, people of color, indigenous people, didn't get those rights for a long time. And some would argue, they're still not fully there. But what about women? We forget in today's society that there's so much that women can take advantage of. And, as a female, I do that too. Something as simple as wearing sweatpants out in public. 200 years ago, it would have gotten me probably put in an insane asylum. I would have been shunned forever, right? So things have really changed. And I want us to think about that. So you're going to be looking at a poem from Barbald called The Rights of Woman. Read that after you read Wollstonecraft's excerpt from chapter 4 on the vindication of the rights of women. I do want to note that Wollstonecraft's whole piece and the three excerpts in your anthology are worth reading. They are revolutionary. This writing is almost one of the first of its kind in a way, and the way that she does it and the content that she uses. And when you read her background information, you'll see that and why it's there. So it's really important. Unfortunately, her husband thought he was doing her, a huge favor by showing how unique she was, and she really was pioneering for things as a woman, and he published a bunch of stuff that actually got her credibility kind of destroyed, and people even 100 years later were hesitant to use her because using Wollstonecraft or referring to her was instant scandal. So that's unfortunate for her because she did do this massive, really cool, important thing. So read Wollstonecraft first, and then you're going to go back to Barbald and read a poem called The Rights of Woman. But the reason I mentioned her first is in chapter 4, the part that you guys don't have in your anthology, Wollstonecraft calls Barbald out over a poem called, I'm trying to pull it up, to a lady with some painted flowers. And in this, Barbald writes about this woman who is young and beautiful, like the flowers, with their bright yellow hair, and being just perfectly beautiful, and you were born for pleasure and delight alone. Your sweet empire is to please, right? These ideas that women are existing only for their looks, for the pleasure of men, to do nothing but just be beautiful and please people. And Wollstonecraft definitely disagrees with that. So she calls her out in chapter 4. So then after, this has been published, there's been time for reading. This poem is written, The Rights of Woman, and it is published by Lucy Aiken, but it's for a long time seen as a direct rebuttal to Wollstonecraft, and maybe it was. So read it closely, look at what she's doing, look for the twist. You're gonna have to, answer a question or two on that in your quiz, but I want to talk about the fact that in such a period, is it possible that they both were fighting for the same side? Maybe. Barbald also wrote a novel called, Letters from Grimalkin to Selima, and that's a pretty revolutionary idea in which she's criticizing education. So William McCarthy wrote a book on Barbald and talks about how everyone thought she was anti-feminism and she was completely against Wollstonecraft, but really she agrees with Wollstonecraft's overarching argument, her big idea about female education and what should female education be. and that's not, university. Okay, we're not there yet, but like educating women and empowering women's minds to do more than just worry about the little things and be a item of pleasure instead of an item of productivity. So definitely you can see the contrast there, and I want you to think about it. But what I really want to make sure you guys are doing with these readings and then the journal entry I'm going to ask you to write is really think about it. Why was this revolutionary? Like, how is this life changing? Like, it's hard for us to believe that we'd be writing that, like, hey, women should be able to be more than just occupied with being beautiful. Like, that scene, like, we know it that's that way, but do we really understand what that meant? So try to like throw off the traditional response to feminism, no matter how you feel about it, whether you're pro, against it. Remember that feminism used to be very different than the way it gets used a lot today. Feminism doesn't necessarily mean anti-man, especially at this time. And other parts of the vindication of the rights of women. Wollstonecraft also calls out the fact that men are stuck in their positions that they're born into as well. So like she wasn't completely anti-man. And in fact, she even says that I do not wish women to have power over men, but over themselves. So feminism is not anti-men. It never started out that way, at least not really. So get rid of that idea, suspend your beliefs in terms of you already know what feminism is, and really think about what this meant. And are we still dealing with these repercussions today, or would Wollstonecraft be happy with what we see today? So let it go, enjoy it, and I can't wait to see what you guys think.